Welcome all. Thank you for tuning into Cedarly Radio, your guide to films playing at the Art House for the week of October 11th to October 17th. My name is Aaron Spears.
And I'm Dave Huffman. On this week's episode, we'll be discussing El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, The Other Story, and Lucy in the Sky.
We'll also be discussing Halloween canon films, what do Downton Abby and Breaking Bad have in common, and our Cedarly 3 picks for car films. Well, we always like to start off the show with the last scene first because we're a little backwards that way. So Dave, what's the last film you've seen?
The last movie I saw is one of my favorite movies of the year so far. It's Ad Astra, the sci-fi movie by James Gray with Brad Pitt. I really loved it. I was surprised how much I loved that movie. It is not necessarily the deepest, most, it's not like 2001 kind of space opera, that level, but It's just really well done. And I loved the whole atmosphere and the tone of it. I loved Brad Pitt's performance. I thought it was just really cool, big screen movie. I don't think it's going to be nearly as effective if people watch it at home.
No, you're right.
I think it is one of those movies you should definitely try to go see in the theater. I just loved it. I hope I can get to see it again on the big screen before it leaves.
So that was the first time you saw it?
It was,
okay.
Yeah.
Usually you're so up to date with current stuff in the theater that I was like, it's been out for 2 weeks. What's going on here?
I know. I just finally saw it. I know. I was a little behind on some things. Yeah.
I saw it as well. I guess I beat you to this one because I went out first week to see it. I would say to caution anybody who hasn't seen it, I feel like it's one of those movies where the trailer kind of sells you a slightly different movie than what it is. Because I was expecting a few things that didn't happen in the movie, which is not the movie's fault. But I actually kind of thought the last act of it did kind of veer into almost 2001 territory where it was a bit more, it gets a bit more isolated and contemplative towards the end. I mean, the opening, even in the trailer, there's a shootout on the moon. There's some pretty good action elements to it, but it gets a bit more introspective in the third act there. But
yeah, I really loved it. And it made me, want to watch some other Moon kind of space movies. After watching that, I was like, I'm going to rewatch Moon, and some other things.
Moon! I forgot about that. I thought you were saying other Moon movies.
No,
what else is that?
Yeah, just other kind of space, space opera kind of things. Not like alien-driven science fiction or actiony science fiction. More sort of
adult science fiction.
Right? I love alien. Yeah,
I say not.
I love all those movies too, but I'm just
movies
saying
for adults. Yeah.
Yeah, I just meant the movies that are space films that aren't really necessarily actiony.
Right. When I was coming out of the theater, the person I was just sort of chatting with, I didn't know them at the time, said she was getting really strong Arrival vibes there, which I was like, it's not quite that same story, but I think that's kind of what she was saying was it's a good, solid movie for, grown-ups who like good movies.
Yeah, and I think it has a similar vibe and tone to it as Arrival. Yeah.
Well, I watched something that's nowhere near that caliber. I watched Exorcist 3.
Oh.
Because, I don't know, I really like that movie for some reason. It's not very good.
I don't know that I've seen Exorcist 3, now that you're saying that.
It's saved by a performance from George C. Scott, who is amazing.
Oh, yes, I have seen it. Yes.
And it's later George C. Scott, but it's written by William Peter Blatty, and it's also directed by him. And nothing against him. He's a great storyteller, but not really a great visual, filmmaker. Especially when something as iconically photographed as The Exorcist, the original. You need to hold your franchise to a little higher standard. But he's really good with dialogue, and the dialogue is just so overwritten.
Yeah,
that it's really fun. And then an hour into it, you sort of forget this is a possession, rated R horror movie.
Right.
And then it goes finally in that direction. But even in the first hour, you're what is the plot of this movie? But I don't know, I like the atmosphere, his performance, and it's just one of those ones that, I don't know, it endeared me early enough in college, I guess, that it's not very good, but it's a recommended, October watch if you've never seen it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, this time of year where I have several friends that are doing their 31 days of horror every day where they're watching a movie.
Yeah.
So, something like that
throw it in the mix. Yeah.
Might find its way into those kind of marathons.
Yeah, it's not canon Halloween must watch things, but if you want a little,
or the original Exorcist.
Right. Yeah. If you want a fun, palate cleanser with some good practical effects, it's a mild recommend, I guess, but
all
right. And I think we're both saying go see Ad Astra.
Oh, yeah. Ad Astra was amazing.
Especially in the theater, big screen, all of that. So, Well, another one I'm very much looking forward to that was just booked. We have The Lighthouse, the new Robert Eggers film starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe as isolated lighthouse keepers on a remote island. Sells itself, set in the 1890s.
Mm-hmm.
Eggers has all the hallmarks to me of like he's a growing auteur in my book.
For sure.
Auteurs tend to be like, the author of the film is the director, but he's working with the same composer, editor, director of photography, production designer. He's got a team that he's sticking with through his movies so far, and I think that's always like a good early indicator to me that like people enjoy working with this person and they're putting out quality products and they're all working together so well that all the great auteurs kind of have that same kind of team usually working with them through the years.
That is true. And he, after The Witch, which I thought was fantastic, this one, the trailer just really teases enough to make you go, what exactly is going on? And I can't wait to see it.
Right.
So, that'll be opening here at the Cedar Lee on October 25th and potentially at the Capitol or Chagrin as well. Those are on the slate for potential dates for that as well.
I would definitely say The Witch is probably in that Halloween canon that if you're going through movies in the month of October, you have to have The Witch in that mix if you
haven't seen The Witch
already.
You need to. Yeah.
So I hadn't really thought of him as being like a special effects kind of director in The Lighthouse. Like two isolated lighthouse keepers in 1890s doesn't scream like effects to me. But on IMDb, there's 63 people listed as doing effects on The Lighthouse. So I'm curious to see what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the hundreds that work on a Marvel movie or anything, but still, I was like, wait, what? That's a lot.
I wonder if there's just like a lot of background CGI, or maybe there's some practical effects. We'll have to see, I guess.
Or if it's that like kind of David Fincher-esque thing where like, you're using CGI just to be such a visual perfectionist that...
Right.
Yeah, it's not like there's going to be...
and fix things, right.
Right, exactly. We'll be right back with the new films opening this week at the theater.
So the first film we're opening is a special limited 3-day only engagement of El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie directed by Vince Gilligan. This is, of course, the big screen film based on the hit TV show Breaking Bad. This is about after escaping Jack and his gang, Jesse Pinkman goes on the run from the police and tries to escape his own inner turmoil.
Breaking news. A horrific scene with multiple victims. It started when neighbors reported hearing hundreds of gunshots fired. When Albuquerque police arrived, they discovered the bodies of 9 male victims, many shot multiple times. Veteran police officers calling the level of carnage, quote, staggering. Apparently, a remote-controlled machine gun was used in the killings. Investigators are searching for a person of interest who fled the scene. Anyone with information on this massacre is asked to call police immediately.
I never thought I was going to say this, Dave, but El Camino is so similar to a film we just opened, Downton Abbey, that it took a second for me. I was like, oh, wow, yeah, it's a big screen adaptation, continuing a TV story. It's like, what do Breaking Bad and Downton Abbey have in common?
Well, quality television programs that turned into quality films.
Yeah.
And as a bonus for El Camino and Breaking Bad fans here, we are actually going to have the original El Camino car from the Breaking Bad show is going to be at the Cedar Lee, parked in the parking lot behind the building on Friday night, October 11th from 5:30 to 9:30. The owner, the guy that he bought it at auction after the show ended, he bought the actual car that was used in the final episode of the TV show. So he lives kind of locally. So he contacted us, and he's going to be bringing it over here.
Huh.
So so we're going to actually have the car here. Does that count as a celebrity?
The car itself? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, based on,
right.
Our Cedar Lee 3 list for this week, at least, that counts as a celebrity for sure.
So, this film, again, it's only going to be playing 3 days. It's also going to be on Netflix, but judging by the amount of advance tickets we have sold for this film, you can tell that there's a lot of diehard Breaking Bad fans that want to see it on the big screen. And if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you may want to do so in advance because there's a very good chance that some of these shows might be sold out.
If you get your tickets early, the worst thing that happens is you have a ticket.
Exactly.
So nothing really wrong there.
Mm-hmm.
I was sort of curious. I was talking with a Breaking Bad fan a couple days ago. I'm wondering if this could be like the new model for Netflix because they're the whole disruptors of the industry and whatnot. So they're not doing a traditional release with this one. It's 3 days only, special event style. But I would love to see them start doing this with more Netflix content where it doesn't have to play for full week or 2 weeks or keep going until it's played out. Just do some special event screenings. I really want to see like Mindhunter, David Fincher's series. Like the first 2 episodes he directed are very cinematic of season 1. Like maybe the first couple episodes of new series could be on the big screen, and then it could entice people to go catch them out back in their living rooms. But I'm liking this idea.
I think that they, they're starting to realize they're leaving sort of money on the table. I mean, by just there's a demand for people that want to have this big screen experience for these films. Obviously, Roma was a movie that needed to be seen in the theater. As lovely it is that you can just stream it anytime at home now with your Netflix account. It's not the same,
right?
And certain films just need to be, need to have that big screen experience. And while this one, for some reason, they're only doing a 3-day only event, next weekend we open up Dolomite Is My Name, which is another Netflix film, and that's just an open run, and that's before it's on Netflix. So
right. Yeah, this is going to be a topic we'll be revisiting in future episodes as the award season ramps up, because Netflix is clearly gunning for some major Academy consideration this year. The second film we're opening this week is another space movie that I'm sure Dave is interested in, since Ad Astra has piqued his interest in this genre. It is Lucy in the Sky from writer-director Noah Hawley. It's astronaut Lucy Kohler returns to Earth after a transcendent experience during a mission in space and begins to lose touch with reality in a world that now seems a little bit too small.
Lift off in 10, 9.
Just feel a little off.
8.
Go up there, you see
7.
the whole universe.
6.
And everything here looks
5. 4.
so small.
3. 2.
To see the vast celestial everything, and it blew your mind. So now nothing makes sense.
So I mentioned it was writer-director Noah Hawley. This is his debut feature film, but he's been doing a lot of writing, also composing. He's got some music credits as well as now directing. So it's sort of interesting when there's like a composer, a writer, and director. I feel like you mentioned, like sound design is kind of a key in a lot of like good space movies, Gravity, Ad Astra, things like that, Interstellar. So I'm curious to check this one out, because also it's, we're only a few weeks out from Ad Astra. Now we have a female astronaut story going on.
Yeah. And obviously Natalie Portman is always worth watching in something, so I'm curious to see it, but I have not seen it yet.
And it's 2 weeks in a row for actress Zazie Beetz, who's in this one as well. She is the, I guess I'll put girlfriend in quotes, in the Joker movie, or in the movie Joker, as I keep saying the Joker, and it's not what it's called.
It's just Joker.
So back-to-back movies for her. Natalie Portman and John Hamm as well for...
that's right, John Hamm, I forgot.
Fans of hit TV shows coming to the big screen. John Hamm performance here as well.
And then we're opening The Other Story, directed by Avi Nasher. And this is about 2 rebellious young women, one fleeing the chaos of secular hedonism for the disciplined comforts of faith, the other desperate to transcend her oppressive religious upbringing for sexual and spiritual freedom, cross paths unexpectedly in Jerusalem to startling consequences.
It's always startling consequences with those two ideologies meet together.
That's a very heady kind of, official studio synopsis of the film. It is a really, I like this movie quite a bit. I thought it was a very good little drama. It is about 2 parents that are kind of estranged, coming back to kind of join forces to what they see as save their daughter from what they see as a bad marriage. They don't like that she has become sort of ultra orthodox. Like, she was kind of this wild girl, and then all of a sudden she has really turned so deep into faith that they think that there's something wrong, like that's not how they raised her. And why is she doing this? So it's kind of the interesting twist on something, as opposed to someone that would maybe be from a really religious family trying to save their child from kind of hedonism. It's the opposite in this. And then there's there's another woman that's, this summary kind of references that her family is having she's having marital problems, and the father of the grandfather of the daughter is, counseling this couple, and how their lives kind of intermingle, and how they unexpectedly kind of help each other kind of meet this middle ground. And it's a very good movie. And I know it didn't play this year at the Jewish Film Festival, only because of the sort of the release pattern and the strategy. Sometimes the studios, how they decide things. I know that it would have been a perfect fit for the Jewish Film Festival, and I think it played at Toronto a couple years ago. It wasn't this year. It was
it was
like
2018.
last year, 2018.
Yeah, so it seemed like it was finishing up its festival runs, and it was time for a theatrical release. So.
Right. So it's a really a very strong drama. So I would encourage people to come see it.
I always go in when I haven't heard of a director before. I was like, oh, is this a new director to check out? And Avi Nesher is a new director to me, but when you look at his filmography, he's been directing since 1978 when he had his debut. So like, this is no slouch in the directing department. It's just one of those that when you're a director in a country that's not in America, and you need to get a distributor that wants to get your content to America, unfortunately it took this long before there was a real solid theatrical release for one of his movies here in the United States. The last film we wanted to highlight this week is Ang Lee's new film, Gemini Man. This is an action thriller starring Will Smith as an elite assassin who's suddenly targeted and pursued by a mysterious young operative, which it's no spoiler because it's in the trailer. It's a younger him. So this is once again Ang Lee kind of playing with state-of-the-art, groundbreaking special effects, which I think is actually similar to what they're doing in The Irishman, where they're de-aging someone on screen. But this is even more intense because there's not two Robert De Niro's in The Irishman. This is two Will Smiths, a younger Will Smith and a current, middle-aged Will Smith hunting each other down, which lines up so well with Ang Lee's filmography to date with Life of Pi and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Even Billy's Long Halftime Walk was full of really interesting special effects, and he's playing around with higher frame rates.
Yeah, this is his second film in a row that is being released at the high frame rate, a 3D high frame rate, which some people find interesting, other people find visually very annoying. So if you've never seen one of those, the theaters that we're opening at, we're playing it at Tower City and Chagrin Cinemas. It won't be here at the Cedar Lee, but it is opening at some of our sister theaters. We aren't playing it in that high frame rate 3D just for technical reasons. I don't need to go into all the tech stuff, but anyway, some people find it visually very annoying. It seems like if you're under the age of 30, you're less bothered by it because it has an almost kind of video game sort of quality to it. Aesthetically, it doesn't have the same cinematic feel that you're used to for seeing a movie. But obviously, Ang Lee is a master filmmaker, and this is his second film in a row that he's made where he's embraced that. So he obviously loves the aesthetic. So it's interesting to me, just from a kind of artistic decision standpoint for a filmmaker like Ang Lee, two-time Oscar winner, to continue to make these movies and embrace technology and changing trends in cinema.
It's also looking at those two specifically back to back. It couldn't be more like this is high concept sci-fi action, versus sort of like introspective war drama. Is applying very similar technology, but to like wildly different stories. Even going back to like Life of Pi with just the visual effects, which he, as you reminded me before we were recording, I was like, he's won 2 Oscars. Yeah, Life of Pi. I was like, I forgot he'd won for that one. That was one of those that won all kinds of technical awards. And he seems to be one of those directors, almost James Cameron style, where like sometimes you need to invent the way to make the film you want to make. Yeah, which is what he's been doing. So I'm curious to check this one out as well. And we'll be right back with our Cedar Lee 3 picks for this week. Well, each week we like to take inspiration from one of the new films opening and suggest 3 more films to broaden your cinematic world. This week was inspired by El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. We went with the idea of car films, which is kind of surprising that we hadn't done that yet, I guess. I don't know. But this one, I wanted to venture an idea here, Dave. Do you want to try a guess one of each other's picks in this topic? 'Cause it seemed like we may have some
I wonder if there'll
here.
be some overlap. I don't know. We'll find out.
All right,
Let's just
go.
Let's just see what happens. Go ahead. You start this week.
I'm going to start off with my 70s pick. I was almost going to do all 70s, but I was like, there's other ones I want to talk about. So I went with John Hogue's Dirty Mary and Crazy Larry from 1974.
Excellent.
Was that on your list?
It was not on my final list, no, but yes.
It's great like 70s car chase movie. It's like a NASCAR hopeful, but resorts to a life of crime because you need that startup money to get your car built, and then it's a run from the law, and it's got a great theme song to it. It's got great performances. It's got it sounds like metal crashing on metal because it's actual cars being trashed. This movie is just one of those great time capsule movies from the 70s that I kind of feel like is ripe for a remake.
Yeah, I would agree that does seem like something that could be remade. Well, the first film on my list is something that did end up getting remade, I would say badly.
Okay.
And that is, again, 1970s movie, 1975, Paul Bartel's Death Race 2000. Which was remade more as an action movie. The original is just a really dark comedy.
Yeah.
It's, in the future, there's only one sport and we're, the nation gathers around as these racers have to basically earn points by running down pedestrians. It's pretty amazing. I remember seeing that for the first time when I was probably like 13 or something, and just thinking it was hilarious.
Yeah,
about getting the bonus points when they mow down. The more weak and infirmed you are, the more points.
The more points it is.
So, yeah, which I always thought was funny. It's like, well, it's easier to run.
I was gonna say it's kind of backwards. I remember thinking that too.
But I think it's because it's so heartless. So that's why you get more points.
And
it's got a young Sylvester Stallone's in it.
Oh, that's right.
What is it? Keith Carradine.
Yeah.
I always get all my Carradines in my brain sometimes messed up. But it's just a lot of fun. I love Paul Bartel. Eating Raoul is one of my favorite comedies of all time. So when Paul Bartel does a dark comedy right, he does it perfectly.
When you said in the future there's only one sport, I was like, oh, that applied to a lot of dystopian 70s cinema.
Does,
is that rollerball? Is it? It's hard to tell. So I went with one super geeky pick as well, and that is the second one I want to talk about real quick, which is Weekend from 1967, the Jean-Luc Godard film. Because if you are a car fan at all, there's a shot in this movie that will drive you absolutely crazy. There's a 10-minute, maybe a little over 10-minute long tracking shot of just cars parked on the highway because there's an accident, and you watch the main characters kind of slowly get their way through, but it's an unbroken take that just slowly, and after the 3-4 minute mark, you're just like, how long? When will this end? And then it just becomes funny because it goes on for so long, but then you see some actual carnage and you're like, oh, this isn't really funny. And it's a really interesting one. You could probably find that long clip on YouTube because everything's legal or not legal on YouTube these days, but it is just it's a traffic jam for 10 minutes, and you kind of just feel like you're in the traffic jam.
I am one of the weird film kind of film snobby people that just does not really like a lot of French New Wave movies. That's like my least favorite kind of film movement, if you will. So Weekend, not one of my favorites.
No.
So no. But when you said that, I was like, interesting choice for a car.
Cinema that tests you sometimes, especially the Godard world.
Well, the next one on my list is from the 60s, and that is Peter Yates' Bullitt, 1968, starring, oh my God,
Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen. My God. Of any names to forget when
I know.
you're talking about a car movie and Bullitt.
Yeah.
There's shows how my brain works sometimes. But anyway, Bullitt is, not strictly all about the car, but it has one of the best car chase scenes ever filmed. And it is just master filmmaking. And Peter Yates is not exactly a master filmmaker in my mind. He's this competent filmmaker that seemed to just be a gun for hire. When you look at his filmography, there's not a whole lot of things that stand
filmmaker.
out. Yeah, exactly. But Bullitt is just shows that he knows what he was doing and could get something really fantastic made. So I love that movie.
The last one was the first one I thought of because I wouldn't say I'm a car person. I use a car. I really don't care what kind of car I'm driving. That's not true. I do. I don't want some sort of gas guzzling, H3 car or something crazy. But there was a movie that came out a couple years ago that I was like, oh, I get why people are into cars now, and that is Edgar Wright's Baby Driver. I was a big John Spencer's Blues Explosion fan, so when that very first scene starts up and Bell Bottoms kicks on, I was like, I am in. And I've watched it way too. I'm probably 10 times at this point. It's
Baby
just
Driver's
a fun
a great movie,
and it's full of cars. And I was like, oh,
and
I feel
just thank goodness it came out a couple years before Kevin Spacey was toxic. So,
right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just barely
that
got
movie
in.
never would have been released.
But he's also toxic in the movie, so it does sort of work okay. I guess.
But I'm just saying, as far as had the movie been sitting on the shelf and they were about to release it,
Right.
and all
Oh,
that
absolutely,
was breaking. It never would have come out. So
Wait, so
thank
would it
goodness.
have been they'd have to reshoot with Christopher Plummer then too?
yeah, that's in the contract.
Yeah.
In fact, I think retroactively, I would like to see them go back and refilm American Beauty with Christopher Plummer.
Well, digital technology
hilarious.
now, we could just insert his
could.
face in there and his voice.
Hilarious. All right, so my final one, I was debating because I love Drive so much, but then I'm like, well, it's not like, there's not a car so much, it's just cars in general. But then I just thought about Repo Man. And,
Oh, yeah.
Repo Man, the car is such an important plot point
Right.
in that film, and whatever's in that trunk, the alien, whatever, we don't know. So if you've never seen Alex Cox's, seminal cult film from the early 80s there starring Emilia Estevez, I would highly, highly recommend it. It's just a great, odd film and just perfectly 80s in so many ways.
I specifically didn't pick Two Lane Blacktop because I was pretty sure that was going to be on your list for some reason. I don't know. Just I had in my head that I was like, Dave's going to pick that one.
I feel like you picked Two Lane
When I was looking at it, I was like, I feel like
before.
we've mentioned this maybe recently.
Yeah,
so that's why I was
think
like,
you have,
I'm going to put that as number 4 in case I need it. So. Well, next week's episode, as Dave mentioned earlier in the show, we will be discussing Dolomite Is My Name, the new Craig Brewer film starring Eddie Murphy as the titular Dolomite. And inspired by that, of course, that is a classic of blaxploitation cinema. We're going to be discussing great blaxploitation films. So submit any pics you want to send our way to @Cedarly Theater using the hashtag Cedarly3, the number 3. But before we sign off this week, we do want to let you know there are quite a number of special events coming your way,
including the start of the new season of the Metropolitan Opera Live in HD, presenting Turandot. This is the powerhouse soprano Christine Gork takes on the icy title princess alongside tenor Roberto Arenica as the unknown prince vying for her love in Puccini's classic opera.
Puccini opera live
Puccini
HD.
opera. That's perfect.
That's enough.
And that's going to be playing Saturday, October 12th at 12:55 p.m. That's the live broadcast from New York. And then Wednesday, October 16th at 1 o'clock is the encore presentation.
And this weekend is the continuing Melt Bar and Grilled Late Shift series, which is the presentation of The Room, Saturday, October 12th at 10 p.m. Bring your own spoons.
And we have one more showing of the National Theater live presentation of Fleabag. This is the one-woman show by Phoebe Waller-Bridge that has been adapted into the Emmy Award-winning show that's on Amazon that I finally started to watch, and it is hilarious. And that is going to be Sunday, October 13th at 11 a.m. And Phoebe, she also just hosted Saturday Night Live this last weekend, and she was great on that. Fathom
Events and Turner Classic Movies present Alien. I'm saying it singular. It's Alien. The 40th anniversary. This show's Sunday, October 13th at 4 p.m. and Tuesday, October 15th at 7 p.m. This event will also be playing over at the sister theater, the Chagrin Cinemas. And if you're a fan of of Alien, then we'd encourage you to check out the new documentary Memory, The Origins of Alien, playing on Wednesday, October 16th at 7:30 p.m. at the Capitol Theater as part of the Fall Doc series. So Memory, Origins of Alien, the documentary, is at Capitol, Wednesday the 16th at 7:30 p.m. And the anniversary screenings of Alien are Sunday, October 13th at 4 p.m. and Tuesday, October 15th at 7 p.m.
Correct. And that documentary, Memory, is not like a making of. It's not like behind-the-scene footage of Ridley Scott on set. It really is about sort of the origins of the story and the art and all this stuff. It's a very, very cool movie, especially if you're a big fan of the film. And then, speaking of, Alien, obviously a cult film, and we are going to be showing a potential new cult film called Under Control, and that's going to be Sunday, October 13th at 9:30 p.m. here at the Cedar Lee. And it's the unofficial sequel to Troll 2, starring George Hardy, who is, of course, the non-acting, mainly dentist that was in the original Troll 2. Yeah. So if you've seen the documentary Best Worst Movie all about Troll 2 or seen Troll 2, this is a new film that people have made using them that's kind of continuing the sort of intentionally or unintentionally bad filmmaking of Troll 2.
Wait, so hold on. So I want to get that lineage here straight. So Troll 2 does not have Troll 1. It's just started with Troll 2.
Yes.
So Troll 2 starts. Sounds
yes.
like a sequel, standalone. Now has a sequel.
Yes.
That doesn't have Troll in the title, just Under Control.
potentially doesn't even have trolls in it because Troll 2 doesn't have any trolls in it either. It's just goblins. Yeah, so
That's
it
not
makes
confusing.
no sense. Yeah, it's not confusing at all. But we are showing this film.
Okay, Under Control, Sunday, October 13th, 9:30. Got it.
Correct.
Fathom Events presents Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell, Monday, October 14th at 7 p.m. This is an encore presentation. Attendees at this screening will receive a collectible poster on a first-come, first-served basis. We mentioned Halloween canon before, and I think, Rob Zombie's entire filmography is, Halloween, literally Halloween, but also Halloween canon as well, and this is the new one.
I don't think you said the date and time. It's Monday, October 14th at 7 o'clock.
7 p.m.
And then finally we have Fathom Events presenting Jay and Silent Bob, the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. This is the double feature on Thursday, October 17th at 7 o'clock. This features Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, as well as the long-awaited Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
As always, thank you for tuning in to Cedarly Radio and lending us your ears this week. All the music heard on the show is original music written by Grant Heineman and performed by the New Heights Jazz Ensemble, used with their permission, of course. Visit clevelandcinemas.com for correct showtimes and to purchase advance tickets. Also, there are links in the show notes. You can use those if you'd like as well. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are at Cedarly Theater, spelled with an R-E at the end because we're fancy like that. Don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you find your podcast, and while you're subscribing, leave us a rating and review, or better yet, tell a fellow film geek about the show. We'll see you at the movies.